Chapter 9. The Protoplasmic Bodies. Men of science have proven that metals are also exposed to sickness and death. Certain types of poison can produce sickness and death in metals. In this Rosicrucian novel, Dr. Arnold Krumm Heller, Huriococa, colonel physician of the Mexican Army and professor of medicine at the University of Berlin, stated that every atom is a trio of matter, energy, and consciousness. We, the Gnostics, know that subatomic particles possess consciousness. We emphatically affirm that the electrical and gravitational characteristics of any particle represents its mental qualities. The substance of the mind exists in all of the kingdoms of nature, including the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms. Indeed, the only difference that exists between a beast and an intellectual animal, mistakenly called a human being, lies in the fact that the latter is transformed, or that has transformed his mind into intellect. Life and consciousness also exist in certain forms within the elemental particles of nature. These particles receive information beyond time and space. This reminds us that the extrasensorial or sensorial perceptions of certain very psychic individuals, with whom many experiments have been made in the laboratories of parapsychology. When an electron and a positron, or proton, are annihilated in order to liberate energy, two gamma rays, or gamma photons, are produced. These rays are found intimately related amongst themselves. When one of them suffers a transformation, the other inevitably receives its influence. This occurs without having an ordinary physical link between the two. Let the similitude of this phenomenon be observed with those who study parapsychology. The Chinese Li and Yang scientifically demonstrated by means of experiments with atomic particles that in our region of the universe, space is not symmetrical, and that smaller particles of matter tend to spin themselves towards an advantageous direction. These men of science do not yet know how the former phenomenon can be related with the essential symmetry of living matter. Optic science is now approaching the fourth dimension. Thus, the day in which tetradimensional space will be visible through very powerful lenses is not far away. In his books of medicine, Paracelsus talked about gnomes and undines, nereids, genii, salamanders, sylphs, nymphs, pixies, fairies. Naturally, imbecile ignoramuses laugh about all of these things. Within the mineral atoms, we the Gnostics find those gnomes of whom Paracelsus, the medieval physician, talked about. Thus, in the same way that the good Erylos Paracelsus, in his epoch, utilized the elementals of plants in order to cure the sick, we too know how to do it, even if the ignoramuses of scientism laugh at us. The consciousness of elementals is dressed with suprasensible protoplasmic bodies. When universal life concentrates itself within the mineral kingdom, then the protoplasmic bodies of lunar bodies sprout by spontaneous generation. These types of bodies are susceptible to many changes and transformations. When the gnomes from the mineral kingdom enter into the plant kingdom, they suffer transformations within their protoplasmic bodies. When the elementals of plants enter into the animal evolution, they suffer new transformations within their protoplasmic bodies. When the evolving wave of life passes from the animal into the human kingdom, that is, when the elementals of animals enter into human wombs for the first time, then new changes and metamorphoses are verified within their protoplasmic bodies. The internal bodies, studied by the pseudo-esoteric and pseudo-occultist schools, are a common property for all of the beasts of nature. These are the lunar bodies or protoplasmic bodies. The laws of evolution and devolution are enclosed within the lunar protoplasmic bodies. The protoplasmic bodies evolve until a certain point, perfectly defined by nature, mechanically. Afterwards, they downwardly precipitate through the way of devolution, cycling back, reverting to their process until reaching the original point of departure. The evolution of the protoplasmic bodies is performed over the surface of the Earth in this cellular world. The devolution of the protoplasmic bodies is performed within the submerged mineral kingdom. It is not strange that the protoplasmic bodies initiate their devolution in this cellular world. However, their complete devolving processes are processed within the underworld. The protoplasmic bodies can never be destroyed by the death of the physical body. After the physical death, the protoplasmic bodies continue within the molecular world, because they are astral and mental, ethereal. Spiritualists talk abundantly about the perispirit, which is constituted by the protoplasmic bodies. The ectoplasm, the materialization of the lunar bodies, has been performed successfully in some scientific laboratories. This is how these protoplasmic bodies have been photographed. The embryonic soul, which every human being carries inside, is dressed with these protoplasmic bodies. The intellectual animal mistakenly called a human being is a machine that is necessary for the economy of nature. Until the machine can correctly function, the evolution of the protoplasmic bodies is necessary. The human machine automatically receives and transforms certain cosmic rays that later are unconsciously transmitted into the interior layers of the Earth. Every animal and every plant performs, in an unconscious, mechanical, autonomous manner, the same function. The intellectual animal cannot be an exception. Each plant, each animal, according to its own kind, captures and transforms, for the good of this planetary organism on which we live, a defined type of cosmic ray. Some capture vibrations of the same Earth, terrestrial rays that must be transformed and transmitted into the Earth anew. Other plant and animal families have the mission of receiving and transmitting solar rays that thereafter the Earth avidly receives. Multiple families of plants and animals also exist that receive, transform, and transmit cosmic rays from the great infinite into the interior of our terrestrial organism. The devolving lunar bodies repeat the process which they had experienced within nature, yet in a reverted way. They retrospectively revive their entire human, animal, plant, and mineral past. When the protoplasmic bodies return to their point of original departure, situated in the mineral kingdom, that is the basic point of the scale, then these bodies are reduced to cosmic dust. The destruction of the protoplasmic bodies is indispensable in order to liberate the lost souls. The lost souls return into the original primitive chaos. After. Here they have to ascend anew until finally reaching the human state once again. That is, after having repeated the very long and millenarian evolving ascension that processes itself through the mineral, plant, animal, and human kingdoms. The destruction of the protoplasmic lunar bodies in the infernal worlds is infinitely painful. Dante marvelously symbolized it in his Divine Comedy. Devolution is a constant downward fall, each time falling towards the past into denser and denser regions, where only weeping and the gnashing of teeth can be heard. The cataclysms that will transform the crust of this earth in a definitive way will kill this. Thus, this is definitely how this humanity will enter into the infernal worlds. Those who do not choose to save themselves, in other words.